Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Hayoim shmoino yomim sheheim shavua echad v'yoim echad ba'omer. Leah nishmas yimim yerasi rusbas Mordechai. Today's shir is sponsored by Mordechai Aschkenasy, otherwise known as Mark. The zchus Shidduchim for Rivka Yehudit's bas Yafa Chaya and Sheina bas Rivka. Rabbi Isai, it's been a tremendous yontif. I was thinking about it. For me, it was the nicest yontif. I ate matzah. I was thinking about the Chasam Sofer we spoke about. The only mitzvah d'oraisa to eat something specific. Mara is only the Rabbanan. There's no other food in the Torah that you have to eat this. You have to eat this wine. You have to do this. Every part of the yontif is just on a different level. When we learned Masechtas Pesachim, you know, Pesach is probably the hardest time to do Daf Yomi. Erev Pesach, Erev Yontif, Chalamoyed trips, and Mishpacha, and this. And I want to give a tremendous yeshukayach to every single one of you who learned the Daf when it was hard to learn the Daf. And especially those who Erev Yontif, Erev Pesach, probably the most difficult day of the year, changing over the kitchen and making maror and charoises and weighing the matzah, the kezesim. Everyone should pat themselves on the back. I looked afterwards. We had 54 people on Zoom and 129 people on YouTube live, Erev Yontif. And that was one shir. And then there was a shir 2 hours before Yontif or so, and there was another 150 people live. So I understand half of them wanted to get away from their wives and let them turn over the... I chap. Come on. To learn in such a matzav, it's unbelievable. It's a Kiddush Hashem. I'm serious. It's a Kiddush Hashem. And then again, Erev Shabbos, Erev Yontif. 2 shiurim again. And again, another 150 people each time. It was crazy. So it's a tremendous Kiddush Hashem. It's a tremendous zchus to be part of this chabura. And it's a lot of chizuk. It's a lot of chizuk. During Yontif, real quickly, I was learning here in this room by myself. All of a sudden the door swings open and I see a camera like going like this, and it was Sandy Saka's daughter, Becky Friedman. She's part of the mishpacha here. She's married to my wife's cousin. She says her father watches the shir. So I said hello to him. But then I was thinking about it over Yontif. I don't remember how many kids they have. 10 kids, more, I don't know. A lot of kids. And these kids sit like mention, one by one, every single davening. Mincha, Ma'ariv, the entire Yontif. It comes from somewhere. A person is dedicated to Torah. The last Ma'ariv in the hotel, I took Tzvi, his son-in-law. I said, come with me. In the middle of Ma'ariv, I said, you got to come with me. I said, come with him. He says, whoa. I showed him by the mechitza, his daughter sitting there, Ma'ariv, just a weekday Ma'ariv, sitting there and davening the kavanah. She sat right next to me and it happened to peek a little. Okay, whatever. I saw her over there. Sure. Anyways, so tremendous zchus. Sandy, keep it up. Keep on bringing. He says he sponsored. He said he brought his brother-in-law and so gewaldige stuff. Anyway, real quickly, if we have time here for an email, this is from Rabbi Nuoff, who gives a shir, and he says he watches the shir, and he was hoping that I could give some sort of shir for Magadi's shir, and I didn't understand him 100%. I got yelled at by David Hachhauser, and he said, "What do you mean?" It was Pashat what he meant. Okay, but here he clarifies, and he says the same thing as David said. Magadi shir need to be prepared in advance. Even 7 a.m. New York time is already too late for many, including me. Magadi shir don't need a full hour explaining the Gemara. They can do their own basic preparation. What they might benefit is from a shir focused on the tougher points of the Gemara, plus Taisvis, Rishayim, Achrayim. And then he goes on to say that, so I hear, but there's problems with that because I have an issue that it's hard for me to prepare that much. Gershon, hi, how you doing, Gershon? I know you like to be called out, so Shalom Aleichem, how are you? If it's possible, please mute yourself, Yishkoyach, I appreciate it. So, yeah, no, I'm always behind, whatever. I'm always last minute for that daf. For me to be a day early would be an ace. So I don't know if I could do that. Besides, I don't have time during the day. I hear. We have to think about it. Then he writes over here, on another note, let me share a story that happened today. No need to read any of this online. So now I'm going to another email here. As I was writing my original email, I was thinking, knowing you, writing that line, preferring that it wasn't read, in parentheses, preferring that it wasn't read, is a waste of time. Because I had one of my good friends wrote to me, said, the guy said he prefers that you don't read it online, so why do you read it online? So here's that guy that I read his email after he said, I prefer you don't read it. And he says, I was thinking it's a waste of time. And I very much appreciated you being ma'ayin in the word preferred. In other words, he appreciated that he did read it, even though he said he preferred it. Okay. He goes on to say that he sponsors the turning of the daf, and it's really Stephen Sokolai should mention. Okay, so going back to this, it says, let me share a story that happened today. No need to read any of this online. No need means read this online. That's what it means. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. But he writes here that there was an elderly person or older guy that was doing the daf with him, and he moved somewhere else. So he just called him up and said, I think you should do the daf again. He suggested that he try my share, the Eli Stefansky share. So he started laughing. He said, just today, maybe 5 minutes before you called, I'm not 100% sure about this, his son-in-law asked him, why don't you try Stefansky? Bekitzer, since he got 2 suggestions on the same day, or within the 5 minutes, he decided it's Shamayim, so likely have a new participant, most likely YouTube, starting next week, continue Hatzlacha. Gewaldig. All right, here we go, Rabbi Isai, another Gewaldig daf. Nothing like we were used to in Shekalim. Easy stuff. Baruch Hashem, for the next few days, we're good to go. So, we're holding smack in the middle of a sugya. There's a pasuk. This is what the pasuk says. Kacha yasel ashar echad la'ayel echad se b'kvasim b'izim shar ayel se b'izim. And we're discussing these tickets that you go to Beis Hamikdash, you buy a ticket. This one was missing the other day. It was Erev Yantiv. It's basically, you get the idea. You buy a ticket for an egel, and it has a larger amount of flour. If you purchase this ticket, it's for the egel, it's for the calf, which also includes older cow. And what does it include? 3 esrainim of flour and a half a hin of shemen and half a hin of wine. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about this ticket. This ticket, and then we're going to go into Agadah stuff. This ticket is the gedi. This is the main part. It's called the gedi. But what does it include? It includes sheep, all sorts of sheep, and it includes a baby gedi. The only thing it does not include, there's only one thing it doesn't include, and that is a ram, an older male sheep. But everything else is included in this ticket. In other words, it's 1 isaroin, a revahin. Whereas this is 2 isaroin, and a shlish and a shlish. Okay, so all we're going to do right now is prove that they're all in one thing. And also we discussed this, that on the ticket it says the day, Sunday, the week, which is the 3rd week of the month, Nisan, and the name of the mishmar, the kohanim that are performing the avodah that particular week, because there's 24 mishmaros that particular week. So it's all written on the ticket. So somebody finds this, or the guy himself, let's say he wants to be a thief, he could put this ticket in his pocket and pretend it got lost and go to the Beis Hamikdash and say, I lost my ticket. And at the end of the day, we said, they're going to wait until the end of the day. And if there's extra money in the box, they see, oh, somebody didn't come and use his ticket. So they give him all the flour. Tomorrow he's going to show up and say, oh, I have a ticket. So therefore they write the day. Okay, so that's today's sugya. Says the Gemara, 3 lines from the top of Daf Tesvav Amud Aleph. Oy la'ayel lamali. So, being that already says in another pasuk what you have to do for the ayel. So why does it say ayel? Says the Gemara, we already said there's a difference between a small sheep and an older sheep. A year old. This guy is more than a year old. This is 2 years old. This guy is a year. And there's a difference in the amount that they bring, double the amount of flour and more wine and oil. So maybe every year it jumps up. Maybe if it's a 3-year-old, you have to bring 3 esrainim, let's say. No, they're all one. So then why does the Torah talk about in green, a sheep? Why do you need the sheep? If there's a difference between a sheep and a ram, maybe there's a difference between a female and a female. In other words, an older female, a 2-year-old female, and a younger female. In other words, all sheep, female, you see, I don't know if you can see, there's a baby, here's the baby sheep, older sheep, but both female, they're both included in this ticket. There's no difference between the older. But in the male sheep, there is a difference between the ram, the male sheep, and the younger male sheep. So then why do you need goats? Here. So if you look closely, you'll see there's a daddy goat and a baby goat. Same picture, just smaller. So why does the Torah say oy be'izim in that pasuk? Right over here in purple. It already says in the pasuk before. We see that there's a difference between a male sheep, a 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So maybe there should be a difference between a 2-year-old goat and a 1-year-old goat. To me, it just, once I put it in a picture, it all started making sense. There's a lot of words there, and gdi and ayil, it's all over the place. It's very, very simple. All sheep and goats are all one thing. The only difference is the male sheep that's older than 2 years old. That's it. But everything else, if you're not a cow, cows are also in their own little category. But I'm talking about all the smaller animals, all in one category, besides the male sheep. The small baby goat is like the older one, end of the sugyo. And on the ticket it has the day. Ask the Gemara. Think about it. The guy is a liar, so he'll just wait until another Sunday comes around and he'll pull out his ticket. Says the Gemara, over here on the bottom it says the name of the mishmar. They divided all the Kohanim into 24 mishmares. Each mishmar, a family, got 1 week. And within the mishmar they divided that. Also, the kids, you went to the Beis HaMikdash twice a year. That's it. But it says the name of the mishmar. It says Kamiansky, whatever it says on the bottom, so you know that you cannot use it today. You can't wait till next week, because next week is another family. Shem Hayoim, Shem Shabbat, Shem Chodesh HaYikasavot. Says the Gemara, okay, that's why we put all of this information. So nobody can steal anything. When is it going to happen? You're going to have the same day, the same week. Next year, because it's every 24 weeks, it's going to be a different mishmar on that, at that week, and that, okay, maybe could have said the name of the year if they had such a thing back then. Shem Chodesh HaYikasavot. You cannot lie. We took away all the possibilities from the liars. Believe it or not, back then they also had these guys that used to do shtick. And Memela, we took that away. Halacha Daled, says the Mishnah, the official Mishnah sponsored by official. There were 2 rooms in the Beis HaMikdash. Achas lishkas chashayim, v'achas lishkas hakelim. There were 2 rooms that they had a lot of silver, a lot of money in it from donations. Says the Mishnah, Lishkas Chashayim. What do they do in the Lishkas Chashayim? Yirei Chet. People with Yirei Shamayim, Yirei Chet. Noisnim l'toicha b'chashay. They would give money secretly. Nobody knew. They would walk by, pretending not to throw it in there. What's the highest madrega of tzedakah? We learned it already before. The highest madrega of tzedakah is when the poor person doesn't know who gave it, and the wealthy person giving the money doesn't know who gave it to. So this is the best way to do tzedakah. You give it into the room, he doesn't know where it's going to. There's a pushka there, and the aniyim come, and they're able to benefit from the money without knowing who gave it to them, without being embarrassed. Lishkas HaKelim, what do you do with the room called Kelim? You want to give some nice silver dish you have, toss it into that room. Every 30 days, the guys in charge open up the door. If the vessel had some sort of use, it was a nice hammer, whatever it is, a saw, a knife, whatever they could use, they used it for the HKBH for the Beis Hamikdash. They leave it. But anything else, a microwave oven, they don't need it over there. So you take it, you sell it in some sort of garage sale, and whatever money comes in goes to the upkeep of the Beis Hamikdash. Says the Gemara, the two of them were in charge of tzedakah needs of the tzibur. They would give money to the father of Yishaya, 1 dinar. And then later on, he'd go ahead and give it to the poor. So everybody made fun of him. This Reb Zechariah, the son-in-law of Reb Levi. He doesn't need the money. So why in the world is he taking money from tzedakah? Not right. Min didmeich batkun bashkechun davim falig leilachron. Vunosim in didmeich. He took from the money, and then the Gemara says batkun. They checked him bashkechun, and they saw after he was nifter davim falig leilachron. It turns out that he was a very good guy. Remind me of the story from Karlebach that he says. I don't know if I have it right. Famous story. There's this guy, a very wealthy guy, that didn't give any money to tzedakah, and basically they came to him on his deathbed, and he said, "I'm not going to give." They said, "If you don't give, we're not going to bury you in the Beis HaKfaras." And he said, "I'm not giving anything." So they didn't bury him in the cemetery. Then, right after he died, everybody started showing up at the rabbi's house, and they said, "Where's my money that I get every week for Shabbos?" So the rabbi said, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about." So we used to get every Friday. And then they realized there's this guy. Oh, so here's a guy. Everybody's making fun of him. They don't want to bury him in the Beis HaKfaras. And it turns out that he took all the money that he was getting, he was giving it out to Aniyim. The only problem I have with this is, didn't we learn that the Yisim Nikim, people shouldn't talk about you? I don't know how it works exactly. Fine. Reb Chinen no bar papa have him falig mitzvah belelia. Mitzvah means tzedakah. So he would do, beautiful, he would go knock on doors, put envelopes under people's doors at night. Nobody saw who was giving. But again, this is not the best tzedakah, because he knew who he was giving to, they just didn't know who gave them. It's not a tain on him. I mean, that was the best he knew how to do. But we had a Gemara that another one would put the money on his back, and the Aniyim would come. But they knew who was giving, he just didn't know who was giving to. Okay, there's another madrega. Like we said, you put it in a room, and the Aniyim come to the room and take. So nobody knows anything. The Aniyim don't know who gave, and the Ashirim don't know who took. The Tikkun Chazan says here, I think it's a simple thing, but it's good to chazer. He says, it's better not to give tzedakah at all if by you giving that tzedakah, you cause embarrassment to the recipient. Okay, I think we would understand that on our own, but it's good to, don't think you're doing a big chesed, I just gave the guy $1,000 in front of the whole shul, and I made a whole big deal, now the guy's he's embarrassed. Don't do that. It's better not to give at all. Says the Gemara, so he was going at night, giving out tzedakah. Chadzman pagabei rabbi in the ruchaya. The guy, the Rebbe in charge of the ruchais, of the shadim, of the bad spirits, Omer loikein alfin Rebbe, didn't you teach us? So he played a game over here. He said a nice pasuk, sasig gvul reyecha. You're not allowed to open up a shop next to if somebody owns a pizza shop, you don't open up a pizza shop right next door to him. Sasig gvul reyecha. What business do you have walking around at night? Night belongs to us. We, the bad spirits, we roam at night. What are you doing here? So he tells him, Rav Chinina tells him, when you give tzedakah, b'seiser, when nobody knows, it will get rid of off. Off is a type of shade. In other words, he's referring to him. So this shade, the ruach got very scared, because it says, Matam b'seiser, me giving tzedakah at night is going to destroy you, ruchas. You're going to die. Varak min kumai, and he ran away. The shed ran away. Omer Rabbi Yoina, Ashrei noisen ladal, ein ksiv kan elo ashrei maskil eldal. It doesn't say praiseworthy is a person that gives to the poor. It says Ashrei maskil eldal. What does the maskil mean? To understand. It's amazing madrega of somebody that could understand the need of the poor person. You don't just drop the $1,000, but you see what that guy needs. What does he really need? How do you give it to him in a way that he won't realize it'll be easy for him to take? That sort of thing. So, as we know, in all mitzvahs, the more you put thought into it, the greater the mitzvah. What did Rabbi Yonah do? He saw a guy that lost his money. Because I heard that you have an inheritance coming to you. So the Tikkun Chatan goes on to explain that he's not really lying. Money is a galgal achoizer. Sometimes I'm rich, you're poor. It just keeps on coming around. It's everybody in different places. We're wealthy, we're poor, we go around. And at the end of the day, your children, your grandchildren might be poor, and they're going to need to come on to you, and therefore, something like that. Anyway, so the point is, you're saying a trick over here. I know that you're coming into money soon. Why don't you take this amount of money, and when you have enough of money to pay me back, you'll pay me back. It's a great trick. So the guy took the money. As soon as he takes the money, I tricked you. It's in your hand. It's a matana. Fine. So in other words, the Gemara is saying that you should think of ways how to give the tzedakah. Don't just give it in a way in maskil to think about it. Is hava sovin b'yomein. In our days, there were older people. If anybody gave them money between Rosh Hashanah till Yom Kippur, have an husband, they would accept. In other words, the very famous Gemara that we know from Bavli, and the Tikkun Chatan points this out, is a person's salary, whatever money he's going to make, the money he's going to make, his mizani he's going to make that year, are dealt to him on Rosh Hashanah. Over here, the Yerushalmi argues and says it's from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur. There's a window over there. Okay, so if there's a window and somebody comes to give you money during that window, you accept the money. But listen to this amazing thing. Amrin min basar came, but once Yom Kippur hits, lo haven nasvin, they wouldn't take a dime from anybody. Amrin de shatam gaban. You hear what's going on here? A guy comes, he says, I want to give you a gift, here's $10,000. Sorry, I'm not taking $10,000. You know why? Because your $10,000 is not going to do anything for me. HaKadosh Baruch Hu already said, this year I'm making $50,000. So I make $50,000. Doesn't matter if you give me a $10,000 check now, or I'm going to get paid from work $10,000. I'm going to have at the end of the day $50,000. So what difference is it? Oh, Rabbi Isai, I forgot to say, Hayoim shmoino yomim sheheim shavua echad v'yoim echad ba'omer. Chaval, nobody reminded me. Okay. Now they're going to blame me that they fell out of the thing on the 8th day and they didn't get to the 10th minute of the shir. Okay, fine.
I'll put it at the beginning.
Oh, Shkoyach Yosef. Great idea. With that drasha. You know what I'm missing here? I'm missing Yeshua. All right. Anyway, so I think it's an amazing act of emunah. Guy comes and gives you a big fat check, and you tell him, it's not going to do anything for me. Keep your check because I am going to get the same amount of money. There's nothing in the world. If I open up another business, I'm going to make the same amount of money. I could open up 5 businesses, same amount of money. You give me 10 checks, same amount of money. And if I get more money from you, guess what? The thief is going to come in and take the money, and I'm going to have a theft, and I'm going to have to go through the whole process of thinking that I lost money. At the end of the day, we make the same amount of money. Anybody that lives in Eretz Yisrael knows exactly what's going on here. A Yerushalmi walks over to him and says, Shalom Aleichem. Do me a favor, be mezaka with me. You'll have the zchus with me. Buy me a chicken. Now, I think the Olam should jump into this Tikkun Chatan. You have to see this Tikkun Chatan. It's famous stuff, but it's kedai to see it inside. Dibura maskel zcheimi. If you can't find it, just listen here, because I know there's a lot of lines on the right side, tiny little letters. Zcheimi. Aseimi tzedakah do with me tzedakah. V'ukamay shekasov yoisem imashe balabayis oisem ha'ani, more than the wealthy guy gives the pauper. He'ani oisem balabayis. The pauper is mizakeh the balabayis, the wealthy guy, more. In other words, trust me, I've heard that line many times from the Yerushalmis. Hey, you think you're doing me a favor? I'm doing you a favor, that I'm enabling you to give me money. Okay, I heard it. They know this tikkun chadatim big time. So he says, I need a chicken. Give me a chicken. Omer le halach timeisei de kupad. I'm giving you money to buy meat. So some want to say the meat was cheaper than. I like to say, I don't know. I'm learning it like balabaz. Meat is more expensive, right? Why are you going for the chicken? Take this fancy steak. So, uzovan kupod va'achal umis. He ate the meat, he ate a steak, and he died. His digestive system, he never had meat in his life. First time he's having meat, he ate the meat and like Nebuch, like those guys on the march after the lager, after the concentration camps, they gave him anything, dead. V'avatzovach. So Nehemiah Ishichin started screaming, V'omar, Boyu v'sifdu laharugo shel Nehemiah. Look who I killed. I just killed this guy. He put the blame on himself. He shouldn't have given him meat. Maybe that's why they learned that meat is less expensive, so he's trying to save a couple of bucks, and that's what killed him. He was trying to be a nice guy. Maybe he wouldn't have such tightness on himself. Okay. Says the Gemara, Nachum Ish Gamzu, the famous Nachum Ish Gamzu. Why is his name Nachum Ish Gamzu? Because everything that he saw, everything that happened to him in his life, it's an unbelievable thing. He would say, Gamzu l'toiva. This is for the better. Doesn't matter what. Gamzu l'toiva. He was bringing a gift to his father-in-law. 3 donkeys worth of food and beautiful things. Found like the guy, decrepit guy mukashchin, like homeless of homeless, with all the wounds and everything. Do me a favor, give me a little bit of the food that you have. You know what? I'm just going to go to my father-in-law. I got to drop it off. On the way back, I'll give it to you. On the way back, Nachum Ish Gamzu finds the homeless guy dead. So he stood over his body and he said to the dead person, the eyes that saw you and didn't give to you, they should become blind. The hands that didn't give you, they should be chopped off. And the feet, the legs that didn't run, maybe back from the shver, or get off the donkey and give you, they should be broken. And that's exactly what happened to Nachum Ish Gamzu. He became blind. He punished, you saw there, there's certain parts of the body that do the avera, they need the tikkun. The eyes, the hands, the legs were involved in this avera. Those are the parts that got punished. He wanted a tikkun for it in this world, so that when, like we discussed the other day, when you come to Olam Emes, that tzaddik comes to Olam Emes, he comes clean. Says the Gemara, Rebbe Kiva was a Talmud, and he went to Nachum Ish Gamzu to visit his blind Rebbe Nebuch. Amalei, Eli shani roya oisach bekach. I can't believe I see you like this. Terrible. Omerlei, Eli she'einani roya oisach bekach. I can't believe you're not blind. You should, in other words, halavai, you should be blind and lose your hands and everything. Omerlei, mad mekaloleni. What did I do to you? Why are you cursing me? Omerlei, umad mevad bi yisurim. Why are you making fun of yisurim? Yisurim are beautiful. They help you get into Olam Emes. We have to accept yisurim ba'ahava. It says in Tikkun Chadatim that, of course, if he knew, Nachum Ish Gamzu knew that this guy's going to die, he didn't realize. The guy didn't say, I have 2 minutes left to live. He said, please give me some food. Okay. You survived until now. You survived for another half hour. I'm just going to the shver. Obviously, if he would have known, he would have gotten off and given him. Rabbi Shaya Rabbo, have a Rabbi Debrei, Chatzaginar. Rabbi Shaya Rabbo, the great Rabbi Shaya, was the Rebbe, the Rebbe of his son was blind. The Rebbe, Rabbi Shaya's son, was blind. And he would eat with him every single day. So one day he had guests, so he didn't go to the blind Rebbe. He had a karsa type to the Rebbe. Rebbe teaches my son Torah. I'm going. At night he came to visit the blind Rebbe. Don't be upset at me. I had a guest. I didn't want the guest to embarrass you. They would make fun of you. You're blind. I don't know what. So I didn't come. That's why I didn't eat with you. So he's told him a beautiful bracha. You made up with a person that cannot see but is seen. That is seen and cannot see. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the opposite. He could see but is not seen. He's invisible. He should accept your apology. That's a beautiful line. Where did you find that? I know you didn't invent it yourself. Where did you get it from? I got it from Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov. There was a blind person that came to his village. Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov sat below him. In those days, they were very makbid exactly where you sit. You know, you sit the front row in a basketball game, sit right behind. There's the whole thing. He sat behind. If not this, if this blind guy wasn't such a chashuv person, Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov wouldn't sit behind him. So everybody gave him a good job, and he made good money, and he realized something's wrong. I never made so much money. What's going on here? They said, Rebbe Eliezer ben Yaakov Yosef l'Raminech. The reason is because Rebbe Eliezer sits below you. Obviously, you're a chashuv person. So, and therefore, this blind person, he's the one that invented this davening, and he davened. You did chesed to somebody who is seen but cannot see. Then the chame, the one, who could see but can't be seen, Yigmal Yosel Chesed, he should do chesed with you. The Lama Rabbi Chama Bar Chanina Rabbi Shaya in Thailand be Ilain Knishta Deloitte. Listen to this. They were spaziering, they were visiting the shuls in Lud. You know how much money, look at this shul. My uncle donated this shul, and my father had put in millions over here. I'm not impressed at all. How many lives did he bury by giving money to the shul? You don't have, nobody here was learning Torah that needed support. He took the money, instead of supporting people that are learning Torah, he put it in a shul. Hashem Yirachim. He did the wrong thing. Real quickly, some Sefer brings that they asked him a shayla. The people in Eretz Shul sent the question to him: where should they invest their money, in a shul or to support Torah? He says it's not even a question, because the Rosh says that if you have a shul, you're allowed to sell the shul in order to support Talmid Chachamim. So of course you give money to Talmid Chachamim. Anyways, if you give money to MDY, it goes straight to our Kailo, and for Torah, it's not even a shayla. But we're talking about other shul. We don't have a shul, we have a beis medrash. Anyway, says the Gemara like this: Rabbi Avon Ovad Ilain Tarya. Rabbi Avon donated beautiful gates to the shul, the Sidra Rabbah, to the great, whatever it is, Sidra Rabbah. And we just turned to Daf Amud Beis, zchus, sponsored by Yaakov Badner and by Stephen Sakalos. Zchus, I'm taking out the great shidduch so now I can fit in some more words there. Zchus of a shidduch for Dina Tamar Bas Esther Rivka, and for a shidduch for my daughter Leena Bas Golda Leah. Also, Ramana comes around. Look what you did. I'm sorry. Look what I did. Look at these gates I made. Klal Yisrael forgot about HaKadosh Baruch Hu when they built. The pasuk is talking about they built Avodah Zarah, but he used the pasuk. Look, they built a heichal, they built a beis medrash, a shul, instead of supporting Torah. There's nobody there that can learn Torah. Says the Gemara, if you have money set aside for the upkeep of the Beis Hamikdash, you're permitted. If you run out of money for korbanos, You're permitted to take money from the upkeep of Bedek HaBayis. Why? Because Karbanos is Kedushas HaGuf. It's Malim B'At Kodesh. So you're allowed to go upwards, but you're not allowed to go downwards. Therefore, if you have a pile of money that's set aside, designated for Kodesh Mizbeach, Kedushas HaGuf, you cannot take from that money and buy a brick, because an animal, a korban, is Kedushas HaGuf. So by you taking Kedushas HaGuf and buying a brick, buying a knife, buying whatever it is, you're going down. Says Gemara. Now, what's very important, and this confused me, but I'm going to do you a favor, I'm giving it to you in 2 seconds. I looked in the art school, couldn't find Pshat. But I looked in the Vilna Gaon over here, and it's amazing. The Vilna Gaon sticks in a few words, and the whole sugya becomes beautiful. You have to continue that sugya over there. And it says like this. If you stick in those words, that's all you need to stick in, because it's over there, where the Gemara is quoting from. Even in Bedek HaBayis, if you have money designated for the wall, and then you take the money from the wall and you put it into, I don't know what, a knife, no good, because you cannot go from one Bedek HaBayis to another Bedek HaBayis. Ask the Gemara, if that's what, you have to stick those words in, because if you don't have these words, it's very hard to understand. And then the Gemara has a question, but it says in our Mishnah, if somebody donated money to the Bedek HaBayis, and you find a nice knife or a hammer, leave it for the Bedek HaBayis. But the rest, you could sell, and then what do you do with the money? You buy something else. Oh, so I just took something from one thing, and I bought something else on another thing. You just said you can't go from Bedek HaBayis to Bedek HaBayis. Omer Chizkiya, Keni Masnisa. This is the way to learn the Mishnah. Lilishkas Bedek HaBayis. First, I put the money in, and then I sell it. So when I sell it, I have money. Now I take the money, put it back in a pile. I put it back in a pile, and then it gets all mixed into the rest of the pile. Now I take money and buy something else. It's not that I took from here and I went there. It's a process, and it gets lost in the process, and therefore that's okay. Hadron aloch perik elu hein hamemunim. Hadron aloch perik elu hamemunim. Hadron aloch perik elu hein hamemunim. Halacha Aleph, the official Mishnah, sponsored by official, the Heilige official, says the Mishnah. Shloisha asar shoifros. There were 13. Pretend like a shofar. Ar Rosh Hashanah. These are pushkas in the shape of a shofar. In other words, starts off very narrow, and it turns and becomes very wide. And that is, as the Gemara is going to explain, so that people don't steal money. Even in the Beis HaMikdash, they had thieves, believe it or not. There are 13 tables, as we're going to see. When you walk in the Beis HaMikdash, there are 13 places that you must stop, fall down on your face, and bow to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's the 14th. Where is the 14th? Says the Gemara, Mishnah. So, if this is my favorite chart, and Baruch Hashem, I found it on the computer today, because otherwise I was going to be stuck with the Masifta one. It looked like this. I wasn't so happy with it. This is brighter. This is the Ezra Nashim over here. This is the Azara with the Mizbeach. You can see the Mizbeach over here. This is the Kodesh HaKadoshim right here. This is the Heichal. So we're all the way over here. The opposite side. Here's Kodesh HaKadoshim. Opposite side. There's a room here called Direitzim. This is where they put all the wood for the Mizbeach. In here, as we're going to see in the Gemara, as we see in the Mishnah, there was a tremendous amount of Kedusha. Why? And because of that Kedusha, they used to bow down there. Why? They had a Messiah from the forefathers. Shesham Hara Nignaz. The Heilig Aron with the Luchos buried right there in that room. Maisa. There's a story. There was a kind of, the Gemara is going to say the story all over again, but he was busy taking out the worms from the wood, and all of a sudden he notices that one of the tiles is higher than the others. So he made the mistake of his life. It cost him his life. He goes to his friend and says, yeah, there's one tile over there that's a little different, and I have a suspicion that that's where they lifted up the tile, they put the iron in there, but before he's able to say anything, he died. And everybody realized, nobody said anything, but it was obvious that because he died so quickly, and he's just opening his mouth. That's exactly where the Aron was buried. Tani, hashifar halalu akum hayu. The shofar that you put the pushka was crooked. Soris melamalon, narrow, ruchavis melamata, and wide on the bottom. So let's say basically like this. Narrow over here, you put the money in, but you cannot put your hand in, because what would the thief do? He'd pretend he's putting money in and grab more money and take it out. Can you imagine? In the Beis HaMikdash, somebody stealing from the Beis HaMikdash. That's how low people are. Unbelievable. So now we have a machlokes. What exactly happened to the Aron? The Aron we know was the box. We're gonna maybe I'll print out a picture tomorrow. Whatever. On top of the Aron were the kruvim, parsik nafayim. Where did it go? What happened to it? So we just saw in the Mishnah that it's buried in the Lishkas HaEitzim. No, the pshat. Haran Goli Ma'im LeBavel. It went to Bavel. My time, Le'yivasar Dover Amar Hashem. Hashem said in a pasuk over there, you showed off your money, nothing is going to be left. Zero. What is Dover? Ein Dover Elosh HaDibros L'Toichai. They're talking about the Luchais, the Seres HaDibros. V'chein Omer, V'chuvas HaShana Sholach HaMelech Nebuchadnezzar, V'yiveu Bavela, they brought it all to Bavel. Im Kli Chemdas Beis Hashem, the precious Kli. Ezu Kli Chemdas Beis Hashem, what does that mean? The precious Kli. Zeh ha'arayin. That must be the Aron. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish Omer, B'mkoy Mo'yoy Aron Nignaz. It's not true. The Aron was buried right there and then. Where? Over here. In Kodesh HaKadoshim. The place where only Kohen Golda went once a year. Kodesh HaKadoshim. How do I know? So, the Vilna Gaon sticks in her. They have to obviously say the end of the pasuk, and it says Vayiyu Sham Ad Hayom Hazeh. They were there until this very day. In other words, if you go look till this very day, anybody reading the pasuk, including us, the Aron is there. Where? Right there in Kodesh HaKadoshim, not in the Lishkas HaEitzim. Ad Hayom Hazeh. Says the Gemara, Ksiv Vayiro V'Adamris V'Lo Yiro. Look at this pasuk. What does it say in the beginning of the pasuk? Vayiro. You could see the Aron. You could see the poles. And then it says in the same pasuk, V'Lo Yiro. What is going on here? Says the Gemara, Elonirin V'Lo Nirin. They were seen and not seen. Both in V'Yotzim Kishnei Dadei Isha. They protruded a little bit, like a woman. But you couldn't see it. It's interesting. We just read Shir Hashirim. It says in the pasuk, Eshkol HaKoifer Doidi Li Bein Shodai Yolin. It's referring to this. It's referring to the Shechina, which is Shoira in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Bein Shodai Yolin. Says the Gemara, V'Rabbanan Amrei B'Lishkas Dir HaEitzim Hoya Ha'arin Ganos. Okay, Rabbanan argue, and they say no. It was in that room offered as his nashim. Same story that we had already. There was a kohen balmum. So the Gemara tells us that, if you're balmum, so you can't do avodah. So they gave him something good. He wanted to work in the Beis HaMikdash. Okay, so take the worms out of the wood. So he's in the Lishkas Dirayim. He saw that the tiles were something funny going on there. No, look at this. He didn't finish saying what he wanted to say. So your pshat that is in Bavel, this, that, either in Bavel or in the country, not true. We know for a fact. We have a Messiah, he says that it's in the Dirayim. Tani. They don't know for a fact. A guy died. So we'll say, he had a heart attack that second. But they know. That's what happened. Tani Rabbi Shai. What happened was he took his hammer, that tool that he was using to take the worms out, he knocked on the tile. A fire came out of the floor and burnt him. A little different the story. Tani Rabbi Yehuda. Ben Lakish. Omer. Another machlokes. There were two aroinos. Echad shahaisa luchos. I'm doing the gears of the guy in here. Take out the word Torah, put in the word luchos. Echad shahaisa luchos nesunu b'saychai. One of them had the luchos. And the other one had the broken luchos. And we're going to go into tomorrow exactly how they fit. The one that the luchos, I should say luchos, was inside. That was in the Yomad. It never left Klal Yisrael. But the other one, that the broken luchos, occasionally go in and out of war. Take out these 4 words. And Rabbanan say, there was only one Aron. The famous story, Klal Yisrael was doing really poorly in the war, and they said, you know what, let's bring the Aron out. We never done it. Let's take it out. One time they took it out, and oy vavoy. It didn't help them, and it got captured. The whole story over there. You know, then the story, Goliath is the one that captured it, and Shaul himself, who wasn't a king yet, he was able to sneak in there, grab the luchos, and ran back to the camp. Okay, the story. Kroya Misayelu Rabban, we have a pasuk that helps our Rabban. In other words, it never went out to war. It was a one-time thing. That the Plishtim are screaming. Who's going to save us? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, their God came over here. He's in the middle of the war. In other words, it never happened. They never seen this before. They never seen the Aron. They got all nervous. They didn't know what to do. But there's a pasuk the opposite way. Shaul, he wanted to use the Urim V'Tumim, right? The Choshen, you speak to the Choshen and it lights up. It tells you what to do. They used to use it for the war, but you need the Aron. So he says, "Give me the Aron." So, Stam, real quickly, because we're from Bet Shemesh. The Aron, the Plishtim got it. Then they returned it to Bet Shemesh. Bet Shemesh. And then from there it went to Kiryat Yarim. Today, they call Telstone Kiryat Yarim. I don't know if that has any shaykhs, if that's based on Navi. I don't know. A lot of times it does, because they say in Bet Shemesh, they know exactly where David and Goliath, the whole story. Anyway, so it was 20 years in Kiryat Yarim. So what are you telling me? You're in the battlefield. How are you saying, give me the Aron? It's in Kiryat Yarim. It's in Telstone. So, Mamela, you see that there were 2. There were 2 Aronos. One went out to battle, one for the broken luchas, one for the whole. How are they going to explain this pasuk? Says Gemara, Gisho Eli Tzitz, because he wanted to talk in the Urim V'Tumim, so he needed the box that contained all the good stuff that when you talk to the Urim V'Tumim, the Choshen, the Tzitz, the garment that he wears. So that box that he wanted, not the Aron box, different box. And the pasuk helps Rebuda. Ben Lakish. It says that the Aron was in a sukkah. What's a sukkah? Like a temporary thing. In other words, in the battlefield, in the war. It's in Yerushalayim, not in the battlefield. So you see, there's only one. There's 2. What are Rabbanan going to do? No! It doesn't mean that the Aron was in the battlefield. It was in a sukkah. You know why the Aron was in a sukkah? Because they didn't build the Beis HaMikdash yet. If you don't build the Beis HaMikdash, it was in a temporary structure. So that's why they called it a sukkah, not because it was in the battlefield. There's only one Aron. Where was it? Yerushalayim. Boysai, have a wonderful day, and hopefully Menachem Ateh could do some Tehillim for us today. Somebody. Rabbi Yossi Dahari, Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi Yossi Dahari, a new face. I don't recognize you. Shkoyach, everybody. What did you say? I don't hear anybody.
When do we have the honor of you coming back?
Oh, so unfortunately I'm scheduled to come back like the first or second day of Yuma, but I really want to be in Eretz Yisrael for the first day of Yuma. It's not good to, if there's going to be new guys starting the new Masechta, I want to be there like consistently in the base marriage. So I'm going to try to change my ticket. I got to speak to Rabbi Pashkis, the travel agent, that helped me out so beautifully. I'll try to bump up my ticket maybe. Come a little earlier.
Today's year was the most beautiful year in the world because you pulled out your first fatal card today. The most emotional card.
Steven Samperl, Shalom Aleichem, how you doing? Yossi, where are you from? Yossi Dahari, where are you from? Oh, now you're unmuted.
I was born in Yemen.
Where are you from?
I was born in Yemen,
Yeah. Wow.
and I grew up in Lakewood, and now I live in Manchester.
Oh, so 1 minute. So you're the guy that you sent me that hold on a second. Let me turn this around. You sent me that how the Teimonim do a certain something. No, that was you.
Yeah, I got that for the, yeah, and that was me.
Yeah, I listened to it. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, for the ladies.
Wow.
Short version.
Huh.
I know a Yemenite.
Your mom is born in Yemen? It's crazy. It's incredible. How many years ago did you come to America?
I was 3 months old.
Ah, but it's still cool. You can tell people I was born in Yemen. You have no shaykhs, but okay.
My wife grew up in Yemen.
What's that?
My wife grew up in Yemen.
Also, really?
Yep.
Wow. That's crazy.
Grandparents just came out of Yemen to Dubai like a month and a half ago.
That's insane. Wow, wow. I didn't realize there's still Yidden there. Woman, so where do you live now? You live in Lakewood, you said?
Were you able to visit growing up? Me? Yeah, I went to visit. Really? Wow. There's like less than a million less than Yemen. Full people. Full Jews. Rabbi Stefansky, Morty Ness was from the 8-minute Daf charts group, and then he came on to the full chart. He was there today. And I'm so proud of you. You had 107 people watching the TV show today.
Ravelli, on a serious note, I got a message from a friend of mine, like someone I've known, I don't know, 30-something years. He messaged me following my charts, your charts, from my status. He said, "What's this? I saw in the Army magazine about the free Gemara. Does that reach out to people in the UK as well?"
Why not? I don't know how to get it to them, but they should. Listen, I'm not in charge of this. It's Yossi Klein and those guys, but I don't see why people that are in different countries shouldn't get it. Why? It's not just for America. The question is how to get it, because our scroll is shipping it out for us. So we should do something. We should get a bunch of Gemaras in Israel and we'll give it to them.
Our school has a distributor in Gateshead, in London.
Yeah,
All
all
you
you
have
guys
to do is fill out the form and everything will be taken.
How do you know, Yeshua? I would try it. I would definitely try it. Let Yossi. Amazing. Eli Trapper, amazing. How's your Yontav, Eli?
I had a matzah.
A matzav or matzah?
I had enough matzah for a full year. What about Pesach Sheni?
Some people still have enough matzah left.
You know, Eli, my ox is 80, my dad's 80. He ate matzah the entire year up till Purim.
Really?
Seriously?
The guy who I'm Gedali, who I'm named after. I never met him. But my dad always said he ate matzah the entire year.
Wow.
Number one factory?
No, he sold it.
Did you find out who this Elio Ladell is? He's not answering me, but Morty nested and I don't know.
Yeshua, how was your Yontav, Yeshua? It was good? Yeshua, how's your Yontav?
When you eat matzah,
There's no workers there.
I locked the doors. There.
Ellie should take her father-in-law. Everyone's asking if Davis was on today. He said, please tell Ellie I'm here. Please make him happy. Please make him happy.
Rabbi said, I gotta go because I gotta drive back home now. I have another over an hour. I have to pack and get out of my whole family. The whole hotel left besides me because I couldn't make it home to do the shir.
At least you don't have to worry about what to pack. They don't give you like that.
I do. I need to pack my stuff. Nobody packed my stuff. But I have to schlep my printer. I have all my stuff, my computers, my this, my Sfarim. Abe Gutnicki. Who's talking? Who met Abe Gutnicki? Oh, Yisrael Shalisky. Where did you meet Abe Gutnicki?
In Florida.
Ah, how was Florida?
Are you okay? Can you come up? Eli,
Yeah.
are you coming for Chorus Kiddush
When is that?
this week?
No, I'm not going to be there. Wow, it's going to be big, huh?
You could make it happen, Ellie. You could come back.
You know, I watched that episode, that cheer, him speaking today. I wanted to see what it looked like. It was very emotional. It's kishma. Like when they named the baby, I don't know why on the spot I didn't start crying. I think I was holding back tears because I was crying now when Vikar Shma B'Yisrael Rivka. It's like unbelievable. In MDY. It's crazy. It's unbelievable. Big simcha.